This past year has seen a catastrophic collapse of the newspaper industry. Advertising and circulation have been hit hard by the global economic meltdown. After publishing for nearly 150 years, Denver's Rocky Mountain News closed down in late February 2009. The paper had multi-million-dollar annual losses. The decision hit the owners and staffers hard.
Good morning. We won't take long. We want to answer your questions. Tomorrow will be the final edition of the Rocky Mountain News.
I've tried not to think about this eventuality, and it's almost impossible to imagine living with it. But I'll never regret having been part of this institution and having been able to work with the people in this newsroom and having had the opportunity to tell the stories we have and to have helped shape Colorado's understanding of itself.
One thing I just want to make sure and say, it's certainly nothing you did. You all did everything right. But while you were out doing your part, the business model and the economy changed, and the Rocky became a victim of that.
And for many print publications throughout the nation, shaky bottom lines point to a troubled business model.
It's beyond broken. It's completely shattered, and there'll be new business models in the future. Newspapers, companies as we know them, are going to disappear, and they're going to be replaced with multimedia and news organizations. What's happened is that the internet has fragmented the audience and fragmented the advertising.
A lot of people call this a kind of a perfect storm for the media.
That storm has been developing for years. Since 1990, daily U.S. newspaper circulation has dropped 19%. The circulation drop, the recession, and online services like Craigslist have devastated advertising, the lifeblood of most newspapers. In the first 9 months of 2008, ad revenue was down 17%.
More revenue has been lost in print advertising than has been gained in online advertising because people don't yet know how to use the web for advertising, essentially.
The result? Bare bones budgets that have led to the loss of jobs and news space in many newspapers.
The print newspaper business is shrinking and will continue to shrink. And the relationship between reading news in print and reading news online and in other forms is going to continue to shift. I don't see newspapers dying out of the lifetimes of people watching this because that core audience is still very, very loyal to newspapers. And while they're older folks in their 50s and 60s and so on, they're not going to be leaving us anytime soon. But at the same time, you have to have a robust presence on the internet for all those other readers.
And youth make up an important segment of those other readers.
People younger than me don't read print. They don't see print as some sort of great container of the human experience. The kids of today have grown up with this box that entertains them and that answers all of their questions. That's a fascinating challenge for a news organization.
A major challenge to consider for news organizations is ending print editions and moving to the web. One newspaper is doing just that, the Christian Science Monitor. In April 2009, the paper replaced the daily print edition with its website, the first nationally distributed newspaper to do so.
We will have effectively eliminated on a daily basis the very cumbersome print production and distribution process.
For the Monitor, those distribution costs have meant paper, trucks, and air transportation. Online offers not only a reduction in distribution costs, but the chance to reach new readers quicker.
The audience you reach has a potential to be much larger and much wider, and many more different kinds of people.
The Monitor is published by the Christian Science Church, and the Christian Science Church has, for 100 years, helped to subsidize it because the Monitor has only made a profit during a small portion of that time.
There will be updates continuously each day with fresh content, and subscribers can get a printed weekend magazine. Like newspapers, news magazines have been jolted financially. Since 1998, circulation for Time, Newsweek, and U.S. News & World Report was down a combined 17%.
News magazines are a troubled species these days.
U.S. News & World Report in January 2009 made the first move from print to pixel. By November 2008, its print magazine audience was less than 2 million and shrinking. By February 2009, its website audience, in place since the mid-1990s, was over 8 million and growing.
We went from a small internet property to a really pretty thriving site.
And the changeover to the internet made business sense.
The advertising model is broken. It's not a way that advertisers want to reach readers anymore.
After 75 years, mostly as a weekly news magazine, U.S. News is now a digital publishing company with a digital weekly for subscribers. For print journalists, it's a whole new ballgame.
It has not been a happy time in print media. It's always about scaling back, cutting, finding ways to do more with less. With the internet, for the first time, I feel like I'm playing offense. We've been able to do some great storytelling online.
And to help with that storytelling, there's the use of multimedia.
Humvee drivers are constantly wondering, is that an empty plastic bag up ahead or another hidden bomb?
I feel like the possibilities are just becoming apparent, that we do think in terms of growth, we think in terms of the ability to acquire an enormous audience.
U.S. News will stay in print with a monthly magazine focusing on health, money, education, and politics. As news organizations focus on ways to bring more eyes to their websites, many questions remain.
The good news is that the internet allows every American citizen to have access to as much news of high quality as they want to have. Yes, some news organizations are going to fail. Maybe many news organizations are going to fail, but other news organizations are going to survive. The question is, how will Americans use this? Will Americans gravitate enough to the best news providers that those news providers will be able to stay in existence? Will Americans value original journalism and not just gossip and opinion? These are the questions that will be answered in the years ahead.